All right, ladies and gents, so welcome to the beginning part of our graphing of absolute value functions. You should be on the absolute value graphs part of your packet, and we're going to work through some of these things at the beginning. Not everything, but some of them. Okay, so first things first is talking about what absolute value even means. Do you remember? Do you remember what absolute value means? You know, it's got the vertical lines, and you'll have like a number inside. That's absolute. Hopefully you remember, but absolute value means distance from zero. I'm going to kind of zoom in on this and try and improve my penmanship. Distance from zero. That's like your mathematical definition of absolute value. It's how far that thing is from zero. But what it does is it takes negative things, negative things, and it makes them positive. Negative numbers become positive. And it takes positive numbers and makes them positive still. Yeah, it doesn't switch signs, it just makes things positive. And that's because distance is a positive amount. I'm going to put this still. So negative numbers become positive, and positive numbers become positive still. Everything just becomes positive. So if I have something like absolute value of negative 7, I get 7. If I want the absolute value of 2, you get 2. If you want the absolute value of x minus 3, you get... Well, you get a few options. We're not going to deal with that right now. We're not mess with it. Yeah, just focus kind of on the negatives become positive, and positives stay positive. And so, if you wanted to graph the function of f of x equals the absolute value of x, you're going to take your x values and put them in the absolute value and see what you get. Well, the absolute value of negative 2 is 2, so I'm going to put 2. The absolute value of negative 1, vertical lines, is 1. Absolute value of 0 is 0. Absolute value of 1 is 1. And absolute value of 2 is 2. And so we got these points here. And each row makes a point. And we're going to come over here and graph it. So we have the point negative 2, 2. The point negative 1, 1. The point 0, 0. The point 1, 1. And the point 2, 2. And you can kind of guess what's going to go on from there. The absolute value of 3 is 3. The absolute value of 4 is 4. The absolute value of 5 is 5. The absolute value of negative 4 is 4. The absolute value of negative 10 is 10. Okay, so you get all these points. The absolute value of 9 is 9. And you can connect these together. I'm going to cheat a little bit here and use a straight line tool. But you can use the edge of a book or a card or something to try and make your lines straight. And you get this graph. You may have seen this before. It's on the proficiency guide at the front of your packet. Yeah, you just might have seen graphs like this before. This V shape is an absolute value function. It's just made from absolute value of x. So that's the base function. This is the mother function or parent function that the other ones are based off of. So what's going on through the rest of this packet is you need to do things like absolute value of x minus 3. So you're going to fill in your table. You'll put 1 in there. Put it right there. Absolute value of 1 minus 3, is the absolute value of negative 2, which we already know is 2, so you get 2. And then you can plug in 2. The absolute value of 2 minus 3 is the absolute value of negative 1, absolute value, which is 1. And you go ahead and you fill in your table. I'm actually going to switch colors here. I should have done that earlier. Style. Let's make it green. Green's a good color. And once you've filled in your table, you're going to come up here and you're going to graph the points from that table. This is the point 1, 2. This is the point 2, 1. I'm going to switch this to green. So I'm going to come up here, 1, 2, 2, 1. And you go ahead and you graph the whole thing. You'll fill in this table on here and graph that one in a different color. Maybe you have pink on hand. You graph that one in pink. And you look at them, look at your functions, look at the graphs, and at the grand conclusion of the paper, this page, you're going to figure out what the h does to an absolute value function. You're going to see, does it move it up, down, left, right? Does it flip it upside down? Does it make it taller or skinnier or shorter and fatter and stuff? You just figure it out. And that's what's going on your assignment. You have to do this one page at a time. So you'll figure out what h does to your function. Is it moving up, down, left, right? Is it making fatter or skinnier or whatever? The next one has f of x is the absolute value of x plus 3 and minus 2. And you figure out what the k value does when it's outside the absolute value. And on the next one, you figure out what a number in front does to your absolute value. Does it move it up, down, left, right? Or does it make it fatter or skinnier? Or like what's going on? You just figure out what that number does in front. And the next one, you got to figure out what happens if you put a negative in front. Figure out what it does. And then, once you've done that, you've collected them all together, you figure out what the different things do, you get to the end. And I'm actually going to pause here and make a separate video for after you've done all of those things. So you should go through the first 4 pages here, 1, 2, 3, 4, figure out what all the different parts do, and then we're going to talk about that last page, which is kind of like practice of all these things. So stop here, get those first 4 pages done, and we'll go from there.